Was stabbed in the back for cheating on her in her dream. Men. What were the consequences of sticking your D in crazy? Met a crazy one a couple of years ago. Started having sex and she got clingy very quick. Talked about moving in and marriage the first week or so. When I told her I wanted to keep it casual, she flipped. Calling and texting nonstop. Stopping by my house 3 to 4 times a day to check in and see what is going on. When I realized that she couldn't handle this type of relationship, I cut things off. Stopped answering my front door and phone. She was relentless. Even brought the police to my house for a wellness check. Anyway, she seemingly got the point and I didn't hear from her for a while until my mom called. She had driven to their house to try and get them to convince me that we should be together. During this discussion, she shared all of the intimate details of our relationship with them. My parents live 2,300 miles away from me. You read that correctly. She drove across America to drop in on my folks. They were not amused. I forgot to add, we are in our 40s. Now trapped in a relationship with someone I work with. If we break up, she'd do something wild enough to get me or us both fired. Secretly seeking a better job elsewhere or transfer. I've learned my lesson. Don't get your honey where you make your money. Got dumped because I wasn't the same person I used to be. Spent the next 6 months confused with her late night calls, texts, complaining that she didn't know what to do now, that she was thinking of just wandering into the woods, even has a spot picked out. It was pretty messed up. She enjoyed being chased, but not actually being in a relationship. When I didn't really want to chase anymore, she went insane. This was 4 years ago, and I still get messages from time to time. I've blocked her on most stuff, but her most recent attempt of contact was on LinkedIn, which I'm honestly kind of flattered over. My ex-best friend was such a nag and not picker about everything. Her boyfriends wouldn't last more than a couple months with her. By seeing how she was with them, you just feel sorry for the guy. She would try to keep them around by claiming she was pregnant when she actually wasn't. One time she actually did get pregnant in an attempt to land the guy, but it didn't turn out as she wanted it because he told her that he will be there for the kid, but he wasn't going to be in a relationship with her. So she got an abortion and claimed she miscarried. Then she met a guy, they dated for 6 months, her longest relationship ever. She was 27 by the way, and she got pregnant. He wanted to do the right thing, so he married her. I went over to their house for dinner once while she was pregnant, and I just couldn't see how he was able to put up with her. She was nitpicking everything he did right in front of me while he was making dinner. And by that I mean she was literally standing behind him while he was cooking and saying things like "You're adding that to the potatoes? That looks disgusting," and so on. I literally felt sorry for the guy. Well, about 2 months after she had the baby, he filed for divorce and got sole custody of the baby because she was crazy and a hoarder. I dated a girl who used to always bang gangsta dudes telling me to hit her in an argument. Me, a softy wuss, obviously wouldn't do it. She'd tell me to man up and end the argument already and take control of your woman. I never took the bait, and in the 10 years since her I can't say any other woman has made fun of me for not hitting her. Was stabbed in the back for cheating on her in her dream. Literally stabbed, with a fork. The tines were completely buried in my back. I had to have my neighbor pull the fork out so I could get to the hospital. 4 stitches later I got home, she was still asleep in my bed. I was in a band and I had dated this girl less than a month. It was her birthday, but I had a show that night. I also was pushing a 102-degree fever. She came to the show, and I had done what I thought was above and beyond for this girl who I still barely knew. I bought flowers, a small cake, we had the bar sing happy birthday to her. She then proceeded to get exceedingly drunk and spent the evening talking bad about me to my own friends, not even 10 feet from me, as if I couldn't hear her. At the end of the show I told her I was too sick to go out afterwards for her birthday, but I would take her out over the weekend. She exploded into a tirade of screaming and crying. I just walked away to my car and drove home. She texted me later that night to say she didn't feel like I was invested in this relationship, and if that was the case we should just break up. I wholeheartedly agreed, wished her well, and blocked her crazy butt on every platform imaginable. And that's how I broke up with a girl, on her birthday, by text message. She slept with someone at her work Christmas party, then came back and tried to tell me she was 5 weeks pregnant with my baby. She proceeded to get wine drunk when I told her that I'd support her decision, but I sure wasn't going to propose or get back together if it was mine. She got an abortion but refused to let me know when or where it was. I'm 100% sure wasn't pregnant with my child given the fact that I couldn't perform for a couple weeks due to a giant gash in my leg. My buddy got a paternity test request in the mail. Found out he was the father of a 4-year-old girl from some random chick. The baby mama is terrible, she's taken him to court many times to up child support, and his daughter has turned out completely bonkers. He has little contact with his child but still pays $1,300 a month in child support plus medical, insurance, etc. The mom has lost all control over the daughter and she just alerted my buddy that she started calling the cops on the daughter because she's violent. Now the child is moving 10 hours away to live with her grandmother several states away. I had a car break down on me and couldn't pick up my kids. So, her being home all day, I asked her if she was able to pick them up as a favor. I told her it wasn't a problem if she couldn't but I just really could use the help. She picks them up no problems. Anyway, I get home and she is napping. My kids are watching TV, but one of them is under 2 so maybe shouldn't be unsupervised. I don't think much of it because she is younger and maybe didn't think before napping, and it's only been an hour or so. I go to fix a drink after cooking up some dinner for everyone. A half-liter of rum is empty from the cupboard. In the 2 hours I had left her alone to run errands she had drank that much and still gone to pick up my kids before passing out in the room. I moved her out that same weekend. Didn't technically stick my penis in crazy, we just fooled around a few times but no sex. Then one night we had a party at my place, she jumped into my bed and I wasn't having it. I told her I didn't want to hook up. So she did the rational thing and latched onto my face like a pit bull, leaving a nice bloody and bruised bite mark on my face. After I broke up with her she called my family members one by one to falsely claim I have raped her. She continued to harass my family by having her friends call and send messages to my sister claiming she is in hospital having committed suicide. This all happened in the days my friends saw her going out with other men. All the money I should have saved while working without having bills to pay is gone. All the time I could have spent having fun and enjoying my younger years was spent doing what she wanted to do. What made her happy? Then, 3 years after we started, she told me flat out, "Hey, we're moving to Houston. I don't want to move to Houston. Then find somewhere else to sleep tonight, you piece of sh." And the next morning, all my stuff was in the backyard. Halfway through she informed me that she wasn't on the pill, after swearing for days she was, and that it would work out fine, then proceeded to wrap her legs around my body. I've never wanted to hit a woman so hard in my life, thank God I was stronger and pried her off my butt. And kids, that's how I met your mother, JK. The information killed my desire to continue faster than walking in on your grandparents. Moral of the story, never stick your penis in crazy. It's not worth it. Now I'm happily engaged and will be wed within a fortnight to a woman who I feel safe around. Technically the girl was kind of crazy but her friend made the situation worse. There was this one girl, Sarah, who worked herself into a friend group I was in. She never really liked me, but she couldn't really say anything because I had been friends with the people in this group for a long time. She was just always kind of bad towards me. A few years after I knew her, one of her friends started hang out with us, named Joy. Cute girl. We kind of hit it off and flirted for a couple of weeks. One weekend I went to hang out with Joy who was staying with her friend Sarah. Joy was crashing in Sarah's finished basement on a couch. We proceed to all go out to some bars and get pretty drunk as dumb young 20-year-olds tend to do. Eventually we all went back to Sarah's house for the night. Joy and I went to her room and started making out pretty heavy. We were both drunk and kind of just passed out, nothing more than missing really happened. Fast forward an hour or so after we crashed. We are both sleeping on the couch at opposite ends. Kinda of leaving on separate arms. The couch is right in front of a coffee table. Joy starts stirring and half wakes me up. She proceeds to stand up, pull her pants down, lean over the coffee table, and starts pissing right there. I was half asleep and drunk, but I don't know what to do. This is an awkward situation, so I just pretend to be asleep. She must have been more wasted than I knew, because after releasing herself on the carpet, she wandered upstairs to Sarah's room. I kind of creeped upstairs a few minutes later and Sarah is consoling Joy. I figure she's upset she did such a weird thing in front of me and was embarrassed, so I went back downstairs and slept on recliner away from the couch. I fall back asleep and wake early the next day, and I got the hell out before anyone is awake. Weird experience, but I live on with my life. Fast forward a couple of weeks and I'm hanging out with the aforementioned friend group, like two of my guy friends, Just hanging out. They come to tell me that Sarah has been saying I raped Joy in her basement. She literally went around to a group of people and told them I raped her friend. Now, I hadn't really passed on the whole pissing in the basement story, simply because I didn't want to embarrass this girl in front of my friends. The worst part is Sarah convinced Joy that I had indeed raped her. Apparently Joy blacked out and had no recollection of much other than coming crying to her friend sans pants. I explained what really went down to my friends, but I felt really weird around some of them for the longest time. I'd like to think she was just mistaken and had good intentions, but I think she found an opportunity to make me look bad and ran with it. F. Sarah. That's her real name. She's a crazy witch. Dated this girl I met at uni for about a year or so. Things seemed to be going great, a little too great. Went to meet her family at their home and was told point blank that her mother advocated for her dating as many men at once as she could. Also, her mom also told her that if she wanted to lose weight, to try speed. It was really awkward. Fast forward to the coming months and she's telling me this story about a guy at work cornering her in the elevator and forcing himself on her to make out with her. Yet she didn't go to the police or authorities. Seemed even more odd, she didn't even want me to go to them. Then her roommate started telling me she was cheating on me. I was in too deep at that point to believe it. But the icing on the cake was when my own brother came to me and sat me down to tell me that she had approached him while she was visiting and I was at work. In that moment it all clicked. So I went to confront her. She went into total meltdown mode on me. Trying to make me feel guilty about everything, like it was my fault or something that she wanted all the dick she could get. So after we break up she keeps messaging me telling me that we need to talk. That she was suicidal and it was all my fault. Telling me she was in the hospital. She was straight up nuts. That's not even including the time she told me she was pregnant all day on April 1st. I ran the whole gamut of emotions that day. The stages of grief are real, let me tell you. Even a year later she still messaged me telling me how I ruined her life, how she had to go through counseling and treatment and how she had lost a ton of weight because of it. Well, I'm glad she took her mom's advice. Now she's single and on speed. Good riddance to that bag of crazy. Glad I didn't catch a baby with her or worse. Oh, you youngsters with your she embarrassed me stories. Sit down. Listen. Learn. There is crazy and then there is crazy. There was this one girl. Let's call her BCC for bat crap crazy. She was hot. I mean, like wow, what is this girl doing with me? Type of hot. Long legs, perky chest, beautiful face and body that just would not quit. We started hanging out, as just friends. You know, watching TV and hitting up dinner once in a while. She was flirty, a little quirky and kept doing things to make me uncomfortable. Throwing a leg over mine, resting her hand on my upper thigh, you know. Flirty. One night it progressed to sex. Out of nowhere, and let me tell you it was mind-blowing. She was an animal. It was amazing. This led to days and days of sex. No dating, just sex. After a while, to tell the truth, the passion was fading. She was still hot, and the sex was out of this world, but she also was self-centered, vapid and kinda boring. She had no ambition in life, and was always asking for or demanding stuff. After 2 months of this, did I say the sex was great? I decided to break it off. I said we could still be friends, but I wanted more in a relationship than just sex. She calmly looked at me and said okay, if that is the way you want it. And I left her house. I was smiling and confident in the mature way I ended the relationship because to be honest I was a little concerned how she would handle it. I had seen flashes of crazy, but it all worked out amazing in the end. The next day, she calls and says she wants a real relationship with me. I am a little peeved, as I already ended it once and now I had to tell her again. So I politely said, no, I think this is for the best, to which she informed me that I had no choice in the matter, we were dating. End of story. I explained that this is not how it works, but she laughed at me and said too late and hung up. So I go to work, and this crazy girl calls me at work to ask about our relationship. Not once, not twice, but non-stop. I mean, I would hang up and as the phone hit the cradle, it would be ringing again. I yelled, I pleaded, I got angry, I threatened police, nothing worked. We blocked her number. That is when the calls from other numbers started to roll in. After 2 days of this, I asked to see her in person to settle all of this. She agreed. We met. I went off, yelled, called her a child, etc. She just sat there with a stupid smile on her face. There were no more calls that day. That is when she started coming into work to see me. The first time, she said I need to apologize for my behavior, can we talk for 5 minutes? And I was like, oh thank God, it is over. Nope, the second we were in my office, I left the door wide open of course, she was on her knees and trying to undo my pants. This was her apology. I physically had to throw her out. She came back. Every day. Sometimes 3 times a day. We had to get a trespass warrant against her. Then, 3 days after that I get a call from her sister. She said that BCC was out walking, trying to get over us, and she was attacked and raped. At this point, I am not believing anything. I of course tell her to call the police. She says all she wants is to see you. She feels safe with you and needs to talk. I refuse. The next day, I am told by her sister that BCC tried to commit suicide. Now no matter how much I was over this girl, I never wanted to see her pushed to that point. Her sister asked if I would come by to say hi. She was bedridden and all the family was there. Ugh. I was an idiot. I believed her. When I got there, BCC answered the door in thigh highs, a corset, high heel boots and nothing else. I turned and almost ran back to my car. So she was raped a few days ago, tried to off herself and this is how the door was answered? That is when the whole I was raped turned to bar Sumisreal raped me. She told friends, family, work, everyone that would listen that I did this to her. She never told the police, because she knew it would turn on her quickly with a million calls and texts etc. After threatening lawsuits, etc. She moved out of the country with her family. Thank God. But calls still continued. At least once a month for. Now get this. 7 years. She was in another country. 7 years. And she still was harassing me. However, due to the distance and infrequency of the calls, emails and texts, I was able to ignore her. Until one day when I got to work and she was there, and she was pissed. She started screaming at me in the parking lot about how I stole her life from her and she waited to have children with me, and now it was getting too late, I owed her a child. I am sure I sat there with a gobsmacked look on my face. I owed her a child. She demanded that we go right now and try to conceive one. I wish to God I am making this up, but no. It is true. I finally lost my temper. I mean I lost it. I grabbed her by the shirt, pushed her back into the car and screamed at her to never talk to me again, ever. Our faces were close. I was red-faced and furious, and then I saw in her eyes a look like hunger. She tried to lean in and kiss me. And let me tell you boys and girls. At that point I was afraid of her. Not physically of course, but that look in her eyes. She was not all there. There is nothing she would not do to get what she wanted. Nothing. I could have broken her arm at that moment and she would have taken it as foreplay. I went inside. Called the police, and then I looked up, found and called her mother. It seems they moved back to the States. We had a long chat her and I explained everything. She said in a soft voice I know. She has issues. They Baker acted her. And I have not heard from her since. But let me tell you. I still am waiting to turn a corner, or answer a phone and have her there. I hope she got the help she needed. But I hope she never bothers me again. Do not stick your penis in crazy. It is not worth it no matter how great the sex is. Thanks for listening to Radio TTS, hit the subscribe button and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to share your stories about having crazy stuck inside of you, because it can go the other way around too. And please check the related playlist in the description.